Hi guys, Rab here from Talon Gear. What I'm going to take you through today is the ZEISS Conquest V6. Basically, this is the kit that I use on my blazer, my beloved blazer. So this will tell you what I think of this actual scope. I've had this scope now for 3 years, and I'm going to go through the details of it now. Okay, so ZEISS Conquest V6, 2.5 by 15 zoom, 56mm objective lens and 30mm tube. That way we're getting plenty of light in. ZEISS are synonymous with quality kit. Okay, the V6, V8, V4, all good bits of kit. This here is the reticle on this is the German 4 illuminated scope. So basically that's the crosshair with the dot shown up here on the screen. For me, I'm not a big fan of dialing in. Obviously the majority of the stalking we do here at South Ayrshire Stalking is raw. So we're up close and personal in the woods. So there's no need for us to dial. I zero this at 1 inch high, then that way with the 6.5 Creedmoor, I don't have to change my point of aim for a roe deer out till about 230 metres. So it's good for that. So on the scope itself then, light gathering abilities. This is where this scope comes into its own. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. The light gathering, it's basically what you would expect for a high-end scope. Ultimately, you get what you pay for. But the ZEISS for me is sort of up there with the best, if not the best. And that's including other sort of German brands, shall we say. I'm not going to name any. Okay guys, so now let's get into a little bit of detail on the scope itself. So on the scope itself, obviously same as every other scope here, you've got the diopter settings here at the front, so you can adjust the crispness of your crosshairs to your eye. I generally have it all the way in. Everybody's eyes are different. Moving on then, a nice smooth focus ring here. You can actually buy a throw arm to fix onto here, but me personally I don't use it because we're going through woods and stuff. It catches quite often, and obviously it can make quite a noise when you're catching the branches and then the branches are snapping back behind you. Right, for those guys who do like to dial in, on the top here, so the elevation turret here, nice and crisp all the way around and all the way back to 0 again. So all you do is elevate that. You don't have to take any, like a lot of the scopes here, you don't have to take any screw caps off. This is basically a ballistic turret that you get with every one of these scopes. On the right here, obviously windage, there is a scope cap on here that you do need to take off to adjust your windage. Obviously this is used for zeroing as well. And obviously always make sure you set it back to 0. The other turret here on this side, this is basically your illuminated reticle, your red dot. Pull out to turn on, and then we adjust it to put it basically to coordinate with the brightness of what you're seeing. So first light, if you've got the red dot on full illumination, you're basically losing a lot of the light because your pupil's dilating, so you're not actually seeing what you should be seeing. So just turn it right down to the sort of minimum setting to allow you to use it correctly. Red dot, if you forget to turn it off, it will automatically turn that off after sort of 20 minutes of inactivity. When I mean inactivity, that's you moving the dial. So it's very good for that and saving battery life. The batteries in this is a CR2032. Yep, so standard batteries that we use for most scopes. On here, battery compartment here. Nice and easy to get off and completely waterproof. As I said before, 30mm tube, 56mm objective lens. On the front of this here, obviously I've got the flip up caps. The weather here in South Ayrshire and obviously Argyll where we do a lot of our hunting as well. usually range. And obviously if you've got the rifle on your shoulder, the last thing you want is to try and identify that deer through the scope, and all you're seeing is big water droplets on your objective lens. The Conquest V6, it comes with the bikini scope covers. Yeah, we all know they are fit for purpose, but getting them on and off, especially when I was using it with clients or in a rush, you end up dropping them, they hit off the legs of your sticks, making loads of noise. Good. Top tip for that, cable ties onto your scope. If you want to use the bikini scope covers, put cable covers on here, cable ties on here over the straps, and it'll keep it on. And then you just flip off the top, flip off the back, and away you go, ready to go. Also in the box is cleaning lens. The warranty on these things is a lifetime warranty, similar to other German products. If they can't repair it, they'll send you another product to the same or better specs. Okay, Rab summary. This is a new feature we're going for. On the Zeiss V6 Conquest. For me, for the job we do, for the equipment I use it on, this thing here is a tack driver. I'm quite confident to go out onto the range and put bullet on bullet at 200 metres. Again, a lot of that's to do with the quality of rifle, quality of your ammunition, but you could not achieve that without quality optics and actually seeing where you want to put the hole. Things I like about it is the red dot. Very, very fine and infinitely adjustable. There's no clicks, so you can get it to whatever setting you require. One thing I don't quite like, and again it could be improved, is to turn it on. You can actually hear a click. Obviously that can be done quietly, but for me it should be maybe a button, or if you just turn the dial it should automatically come on, and that can be done. I've seen it in other scopes, but that's my sort of personal preferences. For deer stalking, yes, you could go for the V8, you could go for the V4. For the middle of the road, for your general hunter, so everyone from the roe stalker, Chinese water deer, muntjac, all the way out to on the hill, this scope will cover it all. I've had this for 3 years and I'm keeping it on here. This is my baby and nothing's coming off it. So the good points and possible points, again, personal preferences for improvements. Good points, light gathering abilities, and low light up there with the best. The red dot, it's fine, infinitely adjustable, and perfectly suits our needs as a deer stalker, but also can be used for target and everything else given your light situations. Things that I think could be improved. I'm not saying it's bad. Again, this is me I am having to be really niggly on this because I love the scope. But the click when you turn on and off the red dot. What I tend to do is before I actually go out stalking, I turn it on, and then that way it's either there or thereabouts on, hopefully when I need it. Another really good thing about it is the turret, your adjustments. If you are having to adjust for those slightly longer ranges out on the red deer on the hill or whatever, or over in Ireland for the Seeker, it's very sort of intuitive and very positive clicks. And you can't accidentally turn this if you've set it right. So it won't turn until you lift it up and then start clicking. And if you can hear that, very positive clicks. So you don't even need to, so in the low light conditions, you don't even need to see what the numbers are on the dial. You can actually feel them as you're turning them. Happy with that. Okay guys, what we're going to do now is, obviously we've had a few questions from guys asking about the ZEISS scopes, and I'm just going to go through them now. Okay, we won't name and shame people, because some of the questions we do get are, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but you do get stupid people. So the first question, what different types of reticles does the scope come with, and what would you recommend? Right, so that's a pretty open-ended question, because the reticle choice for you is 1, personal preference, 2, it would also be sort of subject to what you're mainly going to be using the rifle for. So if you're going to be doing long range target shooting, obviously you've got all the MRAD and MIL type scope reticles there that you can use, so you can use it for adjusting your windage and elevation and stuff. For me personally, for the deer stalking, the red dot. The quarry that I could be using this scope for is obviously deer, all species, but also because it goes down to 2.5mm, 2.5 times zoom, it's also quite good, and obviously not ideal, but very, very useful for driven boar and stuff if you're going over to Germany and doing that sort of stuff, driven boar, driven deer, or driven anything really. Okay guy, next question. What height mounts do you use and why? Okay, so this has been obviously been a bit of speciality. The mounts on here are Blaser mounts, and these are obviously the quick detach ones, so I can take the scope off and return it to 0. But again, that's why you pay all the money for these type of mounts and Blasers. Mount height, that depends a lot on. So the 56mm, you're usually looking at the low to medium, but again, this will all depend on the profile of your barrel and obviously your chamber, and as well as if you got a Picatinny rail fitted on top of your rifle as well. Obviously that all adds to the height. What I look for is enough room here that there's no way that it's touching the barrel, because obviously that will affect the harmonics and obviously throw out your sort of accuracy. But don't forget, if you're going to be adding scope covers onto the end, you need to have enough room on there to be able to open and close them without any interference on the barrel, or otherwise you'll just end up scratching the barrel or not being able to close the scope covers correctly or efficiently. So as far as types of mounts, it's a difficult one. Again, that will depend on your budget, but I would always advise, if you're going to spend the money on a scope like this, don't scrimp on the mounts. The mounts are integral to the accuracy and maintaining the accuracy of this. If the scope is a slight knock and you're using, let's say, cheap Chinese mounts on here, it's not going to stay zeroed, and obviously that one time when you take that shot at that deer of a lifetime and you end up missing for the sake of a few quid, that's on you. But the mounts themselves, there's so many out there. Again, just pick a brand, a trusted brand that a lot of people use. I've got no favourites. I use Tier 1, obviously the Blaser mounts, but there's lots of other brands out there that you can use as well that are just as high quality and just as good. So next question then. Right, what other alternative scopes is there in the same range as the Zeiss V6? Okay. Again, one of those sort of open-ended questions with lots of different answers, but generally, obviously Zeiss are on the top end of the sort of scope world. Within them, obviously I've got Leica, Swarovski, all the other sort of German brand names. But as a comparison, Conquest V6 is very comparable to sort of the Swarovski Z6i. I don't know the make of the sort of comparable one for Leica, but obviously anything that's a 6 times zoom and that sort of range is going to be very comparable in style and use, not necessarily clarity or quality. We've all got different eyes, so therefore we've all got different preferences. This is my favourite. There we go. Okay then guys, just to summarise, ZEISS Conquest V6 2.5 by 15. For deer stalkers, for daytime foxers, for driven boar, to be honest, there's not much better out there in that sort of price bracket. Obviously there is way more expensive scopes than this one, but for your general hunting you can't get better than this. So for more details, obviously on the scope itself, click the link down below. Obviously if you get any questions you want to ask us as well, obviously please get in contact with us guys and we will obviously answer any questions. Same goes for if there's anything you want us to cover. As we've said many times before, we will do reviews on kit that we actually use, and we'll only sell kit that we use. On that, if you want to buy the scope, obviously we do sell it, so here's the sales pitch. Again, click on the link below. Great scope, but it's sort of the higher range price wise. So we'll actually try and find out what you're trying to achieve, and then we'll try and get you the best scope within your budget for what you're trying to achieve. Happy to talk, guys, just give us a bell.